Oh, hello, and welcome to Talking Simulator. How's it going, everyone? I'm flying solo this week, and I thought we might take a look at a Warhammer 40k game. Some of you may have seen my Play It Forward, where I was trying Warhammer 40,000 Chaos Gate. And I had opinions on that game. Like, I didn't wind up playing that much of it just because I didn't think, it was that interesting. Um, for various reasons. I thought Chaos Gate fixed a bunch of things that were kind of wrong with the genre and retained a bunch of other things that were also wrong for kind of arbitrary reasons. Um, and I wanted to take a look at kind of the previous iteration of that in the Warhammer 40,000 universe, which is called Mechanicus. Um, it deals with one of the Imperial factions. If you're not familiar with Warhammer 40,000, it is kind of the, if not the first grimdark setting, it's certainly not the first grimdark setting, but probably the most commercially successful one, the one with the largest cachet. It is a tabletop wargaming, a war game, miniature war game, that has since, in the last decades, um, sent feelers off into adjacent gaming spaces. Uh, and it is centered around the dystopian, fascist, religious fundamentalist Imperium of Man in the 41st millennium. Um, it is techno barbaric, you could say. There, it in the 41st millennium, there's nothing but war. Um, and one of the major imperial factions, Imperials are kind of the major human faction, the only major human faction. Well, I suppose you could say Chaos is also another major human faction, but like the big like kind of like banner bearer human faction, and that is distinct from the idea of good guys. Um, are one of the Imperial factions is the Adeptus Mechanicus. Fake Latin is very big in Warhammer 40k. The Imperium of Man is very technologically backwards in that it has very high technology, but a very rudimentary understanding of any of it. Um, and the Adeptus Mechanicus are the tech priests of Mars, and their job is to maintain and oversee humanity's technology. And they do so in a largely religious sense. Technology is their religion. They follow the Omnissiah. Most Imperials worship the Emperor of Mankind. Like 99.999% of Imperial citizens will directly worship the Imperium of Mankind, or the Emperor of Mankind, who has, who is this rotting corpse on a life support system. Um, but the Adeptus Mechanicus worship what they call the Omnissiah, who they have broadly agreed that the Emperor is the incarnation of the Omnissiah, and everyone is like, good enough, we'll accept this. Um, we everyone is not happy with this arrangement, but it prevents us from falling into a civil war with the people who make our ships go. Um, and they're really entertaining dirtbags. The Adeptus Mechanicus are a lot of fun, because they have zero regard for human life. Um, it might be easier to just get into the game. So in Mechanicus, you are leading the Adeptus Mechanicus, their tech priests, against the Necrons, who are space robots from before time. basically. They look like Terminators, but they are Warhammer 40k's undead faction. You know, Warhammer 40k has a lot of nods to traditional fantasy um, factions, and the Necrons are the setting's undead. They are robots from before time who worship uh, their own gods that they manufactured. They're pretty cool, honestly. Um, yeah, they look like Egyptian Terminators. But let's get into the game, shall we? We'll have a lot to talk about once we start playing the game.
From the moment I understood the weakness of my flesh, it disgusted me. I craved the strength and certainty of steel. I aspired to the purity of the blessed machine. Your kind cling to your flesh, as if it will not decay and fail you. One day, the crude biomass that you call the temple will wither, and you will beg my kind to save you. But I am already saved. For the machine is immortal. I serve the Omnisire.
So that opening dialogue shows up in a lot of places online. It's kind of become a copy pasta, but it's a very efficient introduction to the Adeptus Mechanicus. And as someone in chat pointed out, you could very easily see that being the thesis for some very scary villains. And that is 100% appropriate. What gets thrown a lot in discussions of Warhammer 40k is that there are no good guys in Warhammer. And that's a bit facile, I think. A bit like... It lets the setting off the hook a little bit to say that there's no good guys in 40k. I think one of the more interesting... What I tell people is that every faction is doing what makes sense in their immediate context. There is no long-range planning in Warhammer 40k. But there are no good factions. There is individual decency, certainly. There is individual courage, honor, kindness, generosity. These are things that all exist within the setting, but they exist within the context of what the game calls the cruelest regime imaginable. So saying that there's no good guys is it's not quite right. Like if you're explaining the setting to a 9-year-old who is picking up a box of Space Marines and says, I want to play the good guy faction, you would be like, yeah, also you're a bit young for this entire thing. But like that's the very kind of like 8-year-old explanation of the setting. There are no good guys, right? What it is it's a setting that is in possibly completely unbreakable, self-reinforcing loop of completely rational tragedy. everyone is doing things that make sense. Everything that happens in this setting is happening for a reason, and it's happening very um, in a very calculated and even very efficient way. Let's just start off on normal. Um, and let's look at the tutorial, shall we? Um, so the noosphere is like uh, the big internet for the Adeptus Mechanicus mage priests. The noosphere is what the mage priests spend all, or the tech priests spend all their time plugged into. Um, yes. Oh, absolutely. This game gets all its edginess from Reddit. That's the way that exchange goes. Um, so what we need to talk about when we're talking about Warhammer 40k is fascist aesthetics. Uh, and the mimetic appeal of fascism, the look of it, and I think GCU, of course, I still love you. You once long ago said that fascism was more of a brand than a political, like a coherent political ideology, and I kind of like that a lot. Um, I mean, Umberto Eco tried and failed to define fascism, right? He gave his characteristics of it. It's something that you can kind of like, you know it when you see it. Broadly speaking, it's authoritarian um, ideology that worships strength. It's obsessed with grievance. It it requires its adherents to hold simultaneously contradictory viewpoints. The most popular one that gets thrown around a lot is the enemy is both incredibly weak and overwhelmingly powerful, right? Um, like one of the bedrock mythologies of the West really is the 300 Spartans at Thermopylae, and that like that's replete with fascist ideology, right? It's the idea of like, well, there were only 300 Spartans against an army. It was Xerxes' armies, and so because they were so powerful, um, it was kind of inevitable that the Spartans would win naturally. But they were wiped out to a man because the enemy at the gates are so completely overwhelming, right? It's not coherent, and that's one of its, I think, big features, is that it is this ideology of power. And what power necessarily? The power to make you believe things that don't mesh at all. But yeah, it is an ideology of power. Might makes right, broadly speaking. But like in groups and out groups, fascists generally believe very strongly in laws, but they are laws for in groups and out groups. Right? It feels like something that is very, very deep down in our reptile brain. Um, so the idea of fascist aesthetics is that they promote the view of the big hero, the massive hero, which you can be, and you will serve in an army of singular heroes. Don't ask how that works. Um, like the architecture is all very kind of like monolithic, unless it's being neo-Roman, right? In which case, you're allowed little flutes and things. But if you look at imperial architecture in Warhammer 40k, there's like gold eagles everywhere and giant statues, right? It's very imposing, and it all looks like it's gonna fall on you, but it's not, because it's so powerful. Um, so where am I going with this? The problem is that it's appealing. The problem is that you look at it and are like, it looks pretty cool, right? There's a part of your brain that looks at it and goes and like starts hooting and hollering at, like, oh, look, all the lines are converging, like all the swords are pointed in one direction on this painting, and it makes me feel things. Um, so it's something that you kind of have to like be on guard for. Power has an appeal for us. Um, and it is difficult to parody. Um, Fundamentally, I think Warhammer Games Workshop wants Warhammer 40k to be a parody of fascism. And they're primarily game designers, not political scientists. So, they frequently don't hit it. um, it's it's not necessarily their forte. A lot of the parody elements get lost or subsumed and wind up kind of accidentally just looking cool. I mean, it has always been a parody. I think you can easily debate the success of that parody. Um, yes, and as several people have pointed out in chat, that parody has its roots in Thatcher's England, which is now kind of a distant memory. Um, like 1980s England is kind of removed from us now. So its primary demographic is a little distant, right? Like when Gashgol Thraka, Mag Uruk Gashgol Thraka, which is a very tortured orc version of Margaret Thatcher, attacks the miners. That's not something a lot of people are immediately going to go, I get it. That's funny. It's and I think what winds up carrying a lot of the banner for the setting is its reasonably successful Black Library publishing house, where they publish novels and comics. And the authors working within that framework frequently tell human stories. And you kind of want your human stories to be relatable. You want your characters to be likable. And you kind of wind up humanizing these the fascists of the setting, right? The better authors are usually able to navigate it in some ways, but it's a very tricky thing to do, and especially because fascism is kind of a parody of fascism requires a political dialogue to be taking place, and fascism doesn't really fit on a political spectrum, right? You can imagine, the French National Assembly, where we get the terms left and right wing from, and you have like assembly members like debating matters of policy, right? The fascists don't fit in that spectrum, right? The people who are like, yeah, but what if we just killed everyone who wasn't us? Like you, right? They don't usually get invited into those spaces, or they aren't really compatible with that space. But what if I simply killed you and took your shit? Is certainly a political ideology, but it's not one that fits into a liberal political spectrum. Anyway, so that was like, forgive the little elision, that little aside, as we like literally on the opening screen of the game. The Adeptus Mechanicus, I feel, evade some of that fascist art style, or the fascist aesthetics, because they're hideous. The tech priests of Mars are much more medieval than that, right? You can imagine fascist aesthetics drawing on Roman and romantic interpretations of medieval stories, right? I think of the way that modern American and European fascist identity draws on crusading knights a bunch, right? They love that shit. It's harder to imagine them drawing on the idea of a medieval scribe hunched over a writing desk, or a monk, right? Those are, they have their roles inside of it, but it's not the powerful image that draws people to it. The Adeptus Mechanicus are the nerds of the setting, right? If the Space Marines are the enormous heroes, the AdMech are the people who kind of keep everything running. That they're a religious order, really. Their ranks draw heavily on the Catholic Church, and their status as a religious minority inside the broader Imperium probably has some parallels in Europe. Um, it's very kind of Gnostic, right? Where you have this priesthood that agrees we're going to call the Emperor the Messiah. But we both know that is a convenience for both of us. We both know that that's a lie, and we don't really believe it. But it sure keeps everything running. I also love this. They don't speak English. Right? They are subtitled for us. I mean, like, nobody in Warhammer 40k speaks English. They have High Gothic, which is the fake Latin, and then they have Low Gothic, which is something else. But they're speaking, yeah, Binaric. And it's being translated, presumably, into High Gothic. Yeah, orcs speak Cockney. In the Warhammer 40k fiction, the tech priests of Mars replace their bodies over time. You know, they replace their they augment their bodies with cybernetics. But it takes a while, right? And so lower ranking tech priests will still mostly be meat. And apparently they smell awful, right? They have tech priests would understand the medieval doctrine of contemptus mundi. Um, you know, the flesh is something that we have to kind of tolerate for a little while, but we don't have to like it, and we certainly don't respect it. So we're kind of going to have a rotting meat body. The galaxy is split up into segments. So you have the segmentum solar, which is, you know, where Earth is, and it's where all the densely populated areas are. You have the segmentum tempestus. You have segmentum something else. And then you have the Ultima like you have those three, which are, you know, you have home base, adjacency, you have the marches, where a lot of military forces are, but you know, is still kind of on the periphery of civilization. Then you have the Ultima Segmentum, which is, it's out there, and we're in charge of it because we own the galaxy, but we don't really exert any power out there. The Ultima Segmentum is way out there, and it's most of the galaxy. Right. Tempestus Pacificus. Tempesta, Pacificus, Solar, and Ultima. So Solar is like home base. It's very kind of like urbane, you know? Pacificus is... God, is that where the ecclesiarchy is? Tempesta is, you know, the marches, basically. And then you have, yeah, Ultima, which is a political expedience. Scaevola. Everyone loves Scaevola. She's great. Scaevola is bae. See, we arrived. It's fine. It's fine. We arrived safe and sound. To give you a sense of how the Adeptus Mechanicus views human life, semi-recently in the setting, a big event occurred that shook up the entire setting, which was the fall of Cadia. Cadia was this big fortress world that oversaw and protected the rest of the Imperium from the Eye of Terror, which is this big warp breach where scary monsters live. It's basically like a hellmouth, and Cadia was the fortress at its edge. And Cadia was crushed, right? Cadia had survived like 13 Black Crusades, and the 14th got it. And you know, it was a big L for the Imperium because, you know, the hellmouth spread, basically. The Eye of Terror, you know, it created this huge warp rift across the galaxy, sundered the Imperium in two. Point being, millions of people survived the fall of Cadia and, you know, were evacuated to nearby worlds, right? Or billions of people survived the fall of Cadia. Many of them went to a nearby Forge world, which is an Adeptus Mechanicus factory planet. And the Adeptus Mechanicus accepted these refugees and converted them all into servitors. Servitors are basically like, if you scooped out someone's brains and replaced it with one of those calculators that costs about $5 at a university bookstore, you know, the ones that can do logarithms on your exams. And, you know, these were kind of the people who survived the fall of Cadia were Imperial heroes, right? According to Imperial propaganda. These were lauded heroes of the Imperium. And the Adeptus Mechanicus was just like, cool! And after that, the Adeptus Mechanicus was like, what? What? This tomb reeks of stale, dusty antiquity. Its once stern architecture is littered with debris and tarnished with the patina of age. Here and there, fissures in the structure cast feeble light over cracked and tarnished metal. The tomb was once brutalist and oppressive, as if designed to crush the spirits of its inhabitants. It is no less intimidating now, but instead of evoking a merciless guiding intelligence, it speaks only of decline and of death. This place seems abandoned at first glance, but as the exploratory troops move through its hushed corridors, the ancient dust stirs and something long dead begins to take on a facsimile of life. So broadly speaking, there are two in Warhammer 40k tabletop speak, according to the game rules, there are two kind of like tabletop playable faction. If you buy the Adeptus Mechanicus book to play with the miniatures on the tabletop game, there's two kind of like factions within that book. One are the tech priests, and you will have like the dudes in red robes with lots of cybernetic enhancements, and they will lead like armies of robots and combat servitors, right? Basically like human torsos wired into robots, and then actual AI robots. The second faction are the Skitarii, who are the Tech Guard. They used to be called Tech Guard, but they're the basic soldiery of the Adeptus Mechanicus. And they have like tanks and armored personnel carriers and, you know, armored walkers. But they're kind of like the lay soldiery versus like the very kind of like scholarly and monastic tech priests. Is it actually AI? No, absolutely not. The Imperium doesn't tolerate AI unless it is a text or a machine spirit, which is not an AI. It's a machine spirit. The machine spirit of a tank or a Titan is absolutely not an AI. It's absolutely not an artificial intelligence, because that would be illegal.
Your mission. Flee on.
This is why everyone loves Scaevola. She says extremely, she's kind of like a tech priest meme lord. So again, you also have like little bits of factionalism with even on your own ship, where Faustinius, who is the Archmagos, he's the leader of the expedition, has two lieutenants under him. Scaevola, who is a kind of more radical tech priest, and Videx, who is more orthodox. Right? Scaevola wants to unearth alien artifacts and learn from them, and Videx is like, no, we unearth them to burn them. You know, he's got the permanent frown. Yeah, GCU. Again, within fascism, you will frequently, well, I mean, almost always see lots of internal conflict. The fascist efficiency is an enormous myth, because internal conflict winds up eating a lot of resources as people are pitched against one another in order to, you know, see who's stronger. Yeah, fascism being efficient is literally fascist propaganda. Literally, the trains ran on time. Oh, and the other person we're seeing here is Kepra, who is the Skitarii commander. She commands the Admech lay soldiery. One thing that's important to know about the Skitarii, their baseline soldiery, is that they are 100% expendable. Their ammunition. That, like, you might imagine other armies expending resources. This is an army that is a resource to be expended. Yeah, one of the tabletop units, the Skitarii tabletop units, carries rad carbines. Rad. They're radioactive weapons. They'll kill the Skitarii, but they're pretty good. And who cares? Doesn't this kill the Skitarii? Yeah, so does combat. Or the Skitaris? Okay, so, I forgot about this element, actually. This game has multiple layers, where you have the kind of, like, the XCOM, like, you're on your ship, it's kind of like an anthill, you can look at it and go to rooms and then allocate resources to research and logistics. Then you have, like, the tactical level, right, where you're moving individual soldiers around on the battlefield trying to accomplish like immediate objectives. And then you have this, which is you move from room to room, exploring things and making like little choose your own adventure decisions. I really want to know how they did the vocal processing in this game. Because there are just... It does definitely feel like there's a VA reading dialogue that has been like turned backwards and upside down. Hey, we got some cash. So, we have a resource called Blackstone, which is what the Necrons build their stuff out of, and we're just using it for no reason. Shut up. The soundtrack to this game actually rules, unironically. It it is the most 40k thing ever. Cohort encounters resistance in the form of Xenos constructs, not flesh and blood creatures, but artificial bodies that move with precision and coordination. Yeah, like I really enjoy 40k a lot. Its community is extremely low effort sometimes. So, shouting heresy or Xenos or brother, get the flamer at anyone leveling a criticism at the setting is extremely fucking boring. Um, but like the word Xenos, um, I love it. It means strange. Uh, I just bring this up because I love in Aliens they call the alien a xenomorph, and it's supposed to be kind of like corporate military jargon, but it means strange shape. I like that a lot. It's literally, I think, literally translates to other, but it also can be translated as strange, and I think I prefer that a lot. Yeah, exactly. The Necrons being an ancient galaxy-spanning civilization that replaced their bodies with metal in a completely different way than what we want to do. And the Void Dragon is not on Mars. Shut up. What's a Void Dragon? Never heard of him. What is a Void Dragon? Stepping outside the hilarious memes of the setting. Long time ago, many millions of years ago, the Necrons were a galaxy-spanning civilization of totally normal meat aliens. Then they encountered the warp, and they wanted to fight it. The warp is a parallel universe where thought coalesces as agency, basically. If you're really angry all the time, you're going to create a eddy in the warp that has its own agency, and it's going to be angry. It is a black mirror held up to the soul, or to the psyche. Yeah, and they were dying. They didn't want to die. Point being, they wound up creating gods. They realized in order to fight the warp, you had to have gods. And that started them into a loop of being like, well, I guess we made a really big thing to fight the warp, but, it needs to, in order to actually work, it needs to be worshipped. And they're like, I guess we're worshipping this thing now. No, it has, you have to believe it. And they're like, okay, fine, I'll believe Those were the Catan. The Catan. Catan. I guess it's a hard C. I prefer the soft C. But that's me. I also am... My name is Cameron, and I am a very soft C. They're space gods. They're space gods, basically. Now they're millions of years old. They had they have their necrodermis made of living metal. I think there's 4 of them that survived. They used to eat stars. And Void Dragon was one of them. Void Dragon is absolutely not on Mars and is absolutely not the Omnissiah that the Adeptus Mechanicus worship. Void Dragon is not sleeping at the core of Mars, sending the Adeptus Mechanicus streams. Yeah, Nightbringer was the big fighty one. Outsider is the, like, crawling chaos one, the Azathoth equivalent. Void Dragon was kind of, like, obsessed with technology. And the Deceiver, who was kind of the trickster god. You see a lot of these parallels in Warhammer 40k, where you have the Eldar have 3 gods left. They have Cain, who was their god of murder, and which became the god of war, kind of their Nightbringer. You have the Laughing God, and then you have Ynead, the god of death, who is brand new. Kegarak, yeah. Let's place... How do we want to do? So it's going to go Necron, Magos Menarius, or Apprentice Jeremiah, then new round. So it'll show you like what order things are going to go in. So we can also like look at the range. 8 meters. This has a range of 8 squares. Necron Warrior, we don't know yet. So let's place Jeremiah over here in some kind of cover, and then start back. Ow. And so the Necrons also wound up making themselves these metal bodies in order that they could live forever. And it was a bad deal. The Necrons just got themselves into one bad deal of their own design after another. Just bad deals after bad deal. Forget little bits of the interface. Not enough cognition points. Okay. So, right, yes, we can move here. Cognition points are your action points for the turn. and you can manipulate them. It's actually kind of a fun mechanic. Mechanically, the game is interesting. I just wound up not playing it because I found the higher difficulty levels not terribly interesting. It does the thing where everything just gets more hit points. And I need to prove things to myself, so I play on high difficulties. Yeah. We can put down new dudes. Oh no, don't shoot a servitor, please. Well, no more action points, so we can't do anything. Oh, and eventually we'll get what are called canticles, which are special actions. So we have, like, these are our cognition points, and we can, you know, get more or less as things go on. Firing a weapon requires several of them. There's some nuance here I'm not really, like, getting across. Oh, we're gonna bonk him. Yes, GCU, this is a tactics game. Our tech priests get better over time, or die. It's very XCOM-like, but it does have some interesting variations on the formula that I enjoy. Specifically, I remember liking cognition points. Things just kind of work. You aren't going to have like 99% hit and miss. At least not that I remember. What kind of mechanics work best with the settings flavor? Good question. I love the idea of drawing resources from enemy structures. I think that's really good. I really like the character advancement in this game, and I like the conflicting requirements of your various lieutenants. Some of your lieutenants will want one thing and others will want another. Right, Scavola will want you to recover things, Videx wants you to destroy them. But it is time for a break. So let's take a quick 5-minute break, and when we come back, we will play more. All right? All right. See you shortly, everyone. Hello, I am back. Uh-oh. But hey, look at all the money we got. Huh. Sick. Get him, boys. Aw. Ruh-roh. Oh, I forgot about these. Smashy, smashy. Blast him. Get him. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Wait, that's melee? Ugh. Okay. Get him. Smashed. It's thinking about it. Yes. Ow. Well, that took a while. TXC2, I would say the closest thing that Warhammer 40k has to the Skaven are the Adeptus Mechanicus. I think AdMech are 40k Skaven, or Skaven are the Warhammer Fantasy AdMech. They're very similar feeling to me. Skaven in Warhammer Fantasy Battle are a race of evil rat people for whom life is very cheap and they have very advanced, unreliable technology. You know, they have flamethrowers, they have Gatling guns, they have, um, enormous war machines um, that blow up and kill them, but are also horrendously destructive. They're cool. I like the Skaven a lot. They're very unique to Warhammer Fantasy. But they feel like if you want to draw parallels between Games Workshop's fantasy game and Games Workshop's science fiction game, I think the Skaven and the Adeptus Mechanicus are fairly close to one another. That's a bit fuzzy, GCU. Who who you are as the player in this game, I think, is a bit blurry. I think you are supposed to be kind of the Dominus, but yeah. With Faustinius being kind of like your right hand.
I wake with the turning of aeons. Stars yet burn, life yet blossoms. Is it truly time?
I love that. After, spending like an hour watching tech priests or listening to tech priests speak binaric at you and having to wait for the translation, having Agrelek, the Void Admiral, speak it feels like he's speaking directly into your brain. It's a very effective moment. I like it a lot. Let's get out of here.
Insects. This galaxy is infested with vermin.
So the soundtrack for this game does it there are leitmotifs, basically. The Necron themes are very synth heavy, and the human ones, the Adeptus Mechanicus ones, are organ and choral. So we need to get past Void Admiral Agrelek. He goes first. Let's get the hell out of here.
I sailed the void for 1,000 years. I fought the war in heaven. What can you do to strike fear in one such as I?
Uh-oh, where'd he go? .40 health. You. I believe in you. Get in there, son. You got this. Give him a bonk. Ah, I see. We're gonna be fine. We're fine. We're fine. This is fine.
Dare these wretched things stand before the Void Admiral of Cesaragon?
Excuse me. Bonk? Let's get the hell out of here. Yeah, we scratched the paint. Void Admiral's gonna be feeling that in the morning.
When my fleet sails once more, burning like you.
Okay, this servitor, he's got 3 health left. He's got 3 health left. He's gonna be great. He's gonna be great. See? Fuck. Okay, we're gonna get Jeremiah out of here. Ow! Whoops.
Do not think to challenge us, we who killed our gods.
We're out. Sorry. Sorry, we're out. We're out. No, 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 you leave him alone. You leave him alone. Oh, thank God. Sorry, we didn't know this was your crib. We'll be leaving. As it turns out, landing on a planet named after a man who kicks other men, Silva, he probably has a bumper sticker that says "I kick men's asses and I vote." Landing on a planet named after a celebrated MMA fighter probably wasn't a great move. One of the aesthetic things I like in these games are that the cables emerging from their head evoke hair in a kind of specific way. For example, Faustinius here looks like he has, a very big bushy beard, right? And then kind of like wispy hair coming up the top. Whereas Kepra looks like she has a top knot, or like a big, a ponytail at the top. And like Scaevola has these long braids. Yeah, Scaevola looks like they just woke up. Yeah, and Videx is just bald. I return frustration at your conflict and choose to experience it. Will you two shut up? I don't have the option of opting out of this. Yeah, I suppose, Videx kind of has a mohawk. But, yeah, Scaevola definitely looks like a 1980s "Don't talk to me before I've had my coffee" poster in a break room. Have a good one, GCU. Thank you for being here. And thank you for being here too, TXC2. But yeah, the AdMech are the faction that's wearing the extremely oversized hoodies and never changed them. This game, when did Mechanicus come out? Is it 2017? (2018). Would you have a tech priest in programmer socks? I don't know. How would you code programmer socks for this aesthetic? So we have about 10 days to accomplish our mission here. They clearly have fused Heelys. Yeah, yeah. Could you imagine walking around and just sounding like this? Wouldn't that be awesome? Wouldn't it be great to have this kind of voice? This tomb is bathed in a sickly green light that serves not to illuminate, but only to make the shadows deeper. Every surface seems connected via filaments of alien light. The Desigan here speaks of Xenos tech heresy, forbidden knowledge, and a structure as alive and aware as anything inhabiting it. Early exploratory readings indicate the walls are made of substances not known to the rituals of metallurgy. Abstract Desigans carved into the substance suggest unknown regions of space mapped according to some alien understanding. The weight of such blasphemy slows the steps of the first troops to enter here. The heresies of knowledge are deadly enough, but it seems unlikely they are the only dangers here. Alright, so that was the tutorial. With the wire cable aesthetic, programmer socks or heat shrink tubing, Ferry already nailed it. Yes, heat shrink tubing, absolutely. There we go. Okay, so this is where we equip people. So, yeah, explorators take on the quest for knowledge more than any other discipline. They reach far into the depths of unknown space, searching for lost archaeotech, new species, and even new worlds. Secutors are masters of men and machine. They wield the often rare trait of charisma, and with their inspiring leadership, they are able to multiply the efficiency of Skitarii tenfold. So explorators are movement, and kind of melee attacks. Secutors lead troops. Tech Auxilium are, this is the healing class, I think. Or no, this is the support. Lex Mechanics are the healers. Or no, wait. Catalogers, Lex Mechanics compile, analyze, and run data entry tasks. They are capable of finding valuable data among indecipherable texts, maps, or other obscure forms such as enemy weaknesses in battle. cognition points are so important. Yeah, engine seers are the healers. Unlike other priests, engine seers are found to serve on almost every Imperial planet in the galaxy, seeing to the well-being and maintenance of all things mechanical. Dominus is heavily trained in the art of war, using their skills to monitor and calculate highly complex battle maneuvers in the blink of the eye. +4 for ranged weapons, handy. Servo Skull can zap things, so you can bring something down and then zap it with a Servo Skull. But the soundtrack to this game rules. This is, I think, Children of the Omnissiah. But if you hear that little synth wave in the background, that's usually what's associated with the Necrons in the soundtrack. It's just an undertone here. And Xenorites seek to understand and even use dangerous alien technology. There's the discipline that can reap the greatest rewards and the foulest corruption. Oh, it's free on Epic. No kidding. Honestly, I feel the game is worth paying for. The higher difficulties aren't very interesting, IMO. It just gives the enemies more health and there are more of them, so it's like, okay, it doesn't really present that interesting a challenge, at least in my opinion. I don't find that way of increasing difficult to be very interesting. But it's a cool game, I think. I think it's worth paying for, to be honest. Oh, right, Xenorite is the one that you want to, like, you're constantly using your health. So, cognition points are pretty important because they let you do things. But Xenorite is so cool. Just get your health super high and blast things. Or get a super large health pool and then knock it down. Honestly, I think Lex Mechanic is probably fine early on. But, like, a medic is probably also quite important. Like, having a Lex Mechanic just means you get more actions. It means there's more Tech Priest. So, yeah. Um, I really like having weapons that don't eat up all of your cognition. Yeah, more tech priest per tech priest. What happened to your weapons, dude? Hmm. Hmm. What do we feel like? Brain, we can do this. Honestly, more tech priest per tech priest is kind of hard to say no to. You know what I'm saying? Ooh, I should take another break. Yeah? Let's take another break. I'll be back in about 5 minutes. And see you then. Alright. I don't know why I'm asking. This is a one-way communication channel. I have returned. So let's keep playing Mechanicus. We have nothing so far. So this is kind of a fun way of making Chivos have gameplay uh, 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 significance. Very exciting. So, each of these characters will give us deployments. I think this is the Heretic one, the expansion. But Scivola has something for us to do. She wants us to go and collect samples, and she will give us the STCs for a couple of different items. Videx wants us to cleanse a tomb, and again, we will get STC items, money. What does this do? Ah, heals. A Zenorite axe. Oh, and it applies a dot. Funko, I like it a lot. The gameplay is fine, really, but it's got great flavor. I think we can do both of these. Let's do Videx's. It only has warriors. Oh. LOL. Alright, lads. Okay. Excuse me. Most poetic Lector Dogmatus. I love that the blessed incense could literally just be herbs that they're burning in a censer, or it could be some kind of nanotechnology. Right? Who knows? Is what Videx wants to do actually effective? Both? Neither? Subdomina is a hell of a title. I know what it literally means, but it's also hilarious. Ooh, cognition points. A refractor field generator. Uh-oh. What is this? Monsters? I forget what this icon actually is. So we have a couple of paths through here. We have... The tomb is not awake yet. Yeah, it's sub-commander, right? You are a low-ranked officer. Or kind of like a colonel, right? You are in charge of this entity, this organization of soldiers, but you don't have autonomy, right? There's somebody who, you get told what to do, and then you go and execute it. I wonder what's this. Ah, monsters. A glyph? Ooh. Hand mirror or desk mirror? These actually have meaning. Don't choose the axe-like one? Desk? Okay. Ow! Hey! Uh-oh. Extra Necrons in battle. Let's get all the things, shall we? This is fine. This is fine. Yeah, just act like we belong. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Don't even worry about it. More monsters. they go first. Weird things. Bash it with a rock. Tougher than usual, you say? No, line of sight. Whoops. Ruh-roh. Well, I don't like that they have armor. Exciting. Ruh-roh. Bonk him with your arm. Jesus. Oh yeah, I guess machine spirits are kind of like a limit break. Alright, next turn we bonk him with a stick. Are there any more Necrons going to spawn? Who can say? No one can say. It's impossible to know. No, not a servitor. Where will we get another one? Block him! So your tech priests are extremely capable. They can get a lot done very quickly. Ow. Bonk him with a stick. Really? Why can't I hit you? Why can't I quit you? Interesting. It won't let me... What? Weird. We should have been able to get him. Rip. Mouse clicks, 357. Interesting. Yeah, you can calculate your APM. Yeah, each bugged attack click. No fun. Ooh. Flayed ones. But we can get Skitarii Vanguards. I'm not sure we have time to play another mission. But, I don't know, we could wrap up the stream here, give some closing thoughts. As always with Talking Simulator, I really like to examine our defaults, or our assumed defaults. This is a fairly well-trod genre of game at this point. The XCOM style tactical management game. I honestly like a lot of what they do with it. Removing the particularly onerous elements of RNG, I think, are really nice. The parts where you can just miss. How does this compare to Chaos Gate? Early on, this game has many fewer aliens, many fewer monsters. Chaos Gate immediately starts throwing like large numbers of Chaos cultists at you right away. And it gives it a different feel, right? With relatively few Necrons floating around, it really does feel like you are in the early stages of something waking up, right? It's a good way of graduating the difficulty of the game inside the story. The Necrons are still quite dangerous. And it does preserve that feel by making them able to kind of kill your mooks in 2 shots pretty reliably. That feels deadly. This isn't like XCOM where you lose a rookie to a bad roll, right? Servitors are expendable. It encourages you to think like that. Servitors are things that you actually kind of want to get shot because they give you additional actions whenever they're attacked as you gain insight into the enemy. So the game mechanics do support the feel that they want of being a very cynical, life is cheap game universe. I like the tech trees, or not the tech trees, but the advancement trees, supporting or being named after the various schools of thought in the Adeptus Mechanicus. It gives your characters a little bit of personality. which I enjoy. They aren't really... They're not really named after proficiencies like they are in XCOM. There's not a sniper class, there's not a heavy class. But, you know, you can imagine Dominus or Lex Mechanic or Explorator falling into those roles. But their personality and dogmatically derived rather than battlefield role derived, right? They aren't a class, they are an ideology. Which, you know, it's interesting. It's interesting. I kind of like it. Your tech priests are, you know, gods among men. They wander around one-shotting monsters, and that feels kind of neat. I'm not sure it's terribly in line for the game universe, but it does support a kind of, I guess, hero-driven playstyle. As I Am Clockwork says, the cognition point system is elegant. It's not perfect, but it is elegant. You can have one tech priest running around generating cognition points while another one uses them up, which I think is in line with the networked intelligence of the Adeptus Mechanicus. They share resources and a sensorium through the noosphere. So I think that works quite well. Skylar Ringtail, you don't really do research. You get rewards, and you get rewards for completing missions, i.e., all of your little dudes will let you in to the know. Right? You aren't researching how to build a Skitarii Vanguard Alpha. Videx is giving you access to that. Right? You are... it is a political reward, not the result of research. Right? You might uncover... Whether the story is that you are uncovering this STC, Standard Template Construct, which is what the Imperium uses to build things. Or whether it is something that he is giving you access to. So, like, Scaevola gives you access to a Zenorite axe or a Curatio claw, for doing her mission, right? The Zenorite axe is specific to her sub-faction within the Adeptus Mechanicus. But, like, you can eventually expect similar rewards from the other members of the command staff. Because, yeah, as people are in chat are pointing out, the Adeptus Mechanicus doesn't really do research. There are individuals within the Adeptus Mechanicus who do get to do blue sky research or novel research, but for the most part, it's an organization that believes that there is no new knowledge, everything has already been discovered, and it is a matter of rediscovering it, right? It is a very kind of classical belief in the knowledge of the ancients, right? The medieval or the Renaissance even belief that, no, the ancient Greeks and Romans knew everything, and we only need to rediscover it. I forget, who is the Archmagos in Warhammer 40k who does get to do novel research, and he made the new Space Marine stuff. But he's a special character in the game. Belisarius Cawl. Yeah. He gets to do new stuff as long as he doesn't call it new stuff, is what I remember. Right? Oh no, the Emperor totally designed Primaris Space Marines. It's fine. Don't even worry about it. No, this is the Emperor made these, not me. Me? But I'm just a little tech priest. Archmagos Dominus Belisarius called. Or was it Gilliman who gave him kind of carte blanche? I forget. Did he wake Gilliman up, or did Gilliman give him the... Which came first, the Gilliman or the call? He woke up. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I think the gameplay does a reasonable job of supporting the gameplay feel they want, where your tech priests are super capable, they are upgradable, they are modular, they develop along ideological pathways. The Necrons are relentless feeling. The Eldar woke up Gilliman. Okay. Gilliman gave him the job, then got trapped in stasis for 10,000 years? Oh, okay. Is there a novel I'm missing? I mean, there must be. But there must be, like, a Fall of Cadia, 13th Black Crusade series of novels from Black Library that I could read. Oh, the Inari and Call woke up Gilliman. Okay. Yeah, like, I used to play a lot of Warhammer 40k from, 1997 until, like, 2010. And then I kind of fell off, and then I came back and, like, cracked open a book and was like, the hell's guitar... what the hell's a bad scar? Cicatrice maledictum. That's a big thing, I remember thinking, cracking open the book. Anyway, I like this game. I think it's cute. I'm not sure it does anything super innovative gameplay-wise. I like that it removes the RNG of will you or will you not hit, and kind of moves that over to a narrow bracket of, like, how much damage you will do, whether you will crit or not. It allows you to plan. I think that's good. I like games that reward planning. I always liked the tabletop games where you rolled buckets of dice because it would kind of even out your luck. Games like Battlefleet Gothic. I like that this game also kind of rewards you for being able to plan ahead a couple of turns, right? If you know the less RNG is involved in your decisions, the more reliable your decisions get, the less random they are. It's not quite as tautological as I make it sound. But we should probably maybe say adios here. All right, well, thank you for joining us here on Talking Simulator. I'll be back next week with Corey, where we will be playing more I Was a Teenage Exocolonist, which is a game that I really like. But thank you all for being here with my solo stream. Toodles.